ॐ वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेव गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. So welcome dear devotees in this second video of the Śrī Bhīṣma-stutiḥ series. Today we will be trying to cover the second verse of Śrī Bhīṣma-stutiḥ, and we will be trying to see it with three commentaries. But before we begin, we will read a quote from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada says, Rupa Goswami is the father of devotional service. He has written that book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In that book, there is nice direction. Of course, in Chaitanya Charitamrita and other books, we have given the summary of those directions in our book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So one has to learn the conjugal affairs of Radha Krishna through the teachings of these six Goswamis. Now we continue with Śrī Bhīṣma-stutiḥ with three commentaries. But before we begin, we'll offer our pranams to the three commentators, Srila Sridhar Swami, Srila Jiva Goswami, and Srila Srinath Chakravarti. Now the verses that are being used to offer respects to these three personalities were explained in the first video. So I'll not explain the meanings of those verses again. Those devotees who are interested in knowing the meanings of these verses, they can refer to the first video in this series. Thank you. Let's begin. Śrī Bhāgavata-nidhyartha tīka drishtiradāyai Sridhar Swami pādāmstān vande bhakti-eka-rakṣakān Hastāmalaka-vattattvam Śrīmad-bhāgavatasya yah Darshayamasa Jīvebhyastam Śrī Jīva-prabhum bhaje Prabhum na Srinathabhidamavani devanvayavidhum Numo bhusharatnam bhuva iva vivorasya daitam Yada syadunmilan niravakara vrindavanaraha Katha swadam labdva jagati na jana kvapi ramate. Now, having paid our respects to the three commentators, we begin with the second verse of Śrī Bhīṣma-stutiḥ. This is Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse number 33. Let's recite the verse. Tribhuvanakamanam tamalvarnam ravikara-gauravarambaram dadhane vapuralaka-kulavritananabjam vijaya-sakheratirasthu mena vadya. Now, let's see the translation. May, my, and the term for that is may. Loving attachment, and the term for that is rati. Be, and the term for that is astu. Causeless, and the term for that is anavadya. Towards Krishna, the friend of Arjun, and the phrase for that is Vijaya Sakhe. He has a form, that is Vapu, desirable by the three worlds, Tribhuvana Kamanam, with tamal tree like complexion, and the term for that is Tamal Varnam. Wearing, that is Dadhane, excellent garment yellowish like the rays of the sun, that is Ravi Kara Gaura Varambaram, and lotus like face covered with pendant locks of hair, and the term for that is Alaka Kulavritananabjam. Alright, so now I'll speak the translation again, but this time without any Sanskrit terms. May my loving attachment be causeless towards Krishna, the friend of Arjuna. He has a form desirable by the three worlds, with tamal tree-like complexion, wearing excellent garment yellowish like the rays of the sun, and lotus-like face covered with pendant locks of hair. Now let's begin with Srila Sridhar Swami's commentary, Bhavartha-dipika. Srila Sridhar Swami says, Idanim Shri Krishna Murtim Varnayan Ratim Prarthayate. He says, Idanim, now, in this verse, Shri Krishna Murtim Varnayan, while describing what? Shri Krishna Murtim, the form of Shri Krishna. So, in this verse, while describing the form of Lord Krishna, what does Bhishma Dev do? Ratim Prarthayate. So, he says, Bhishma Dev is praying for Rati. Rati means deep loving attachment towards Krishna. So, in this verse, Bhishma Dev, while describing the form of Lord Sri Krishna, he is praying for deep attachment towards Lord Sri Krishna. Alright. So, the first term is Tribhuvana Kamanam. So, Srila Sridhar Swami says, Tribhuvana Kamanam. Is highlighting this term Tribhuvana Kamanam. He explains it as Trilokyam Ekam Eva Kamaniyam Yat. He says Trilokyam, in the three worlds. So what are the three worlds? Three worlds are Bhulok, Bhuvarlok and Swargalok. In these three worlds, Ekam Eva Kamaniyam, Lord Krishna's form is the only one which is desirable simultaneously by all these three worlds. That means one form may be desirable in one world but may not be desirable in another world. But Lord Sri Krishna's form is such that it is desirable in all the three worlds. Trilokyam ekam eva kamaniyam. It is the only object of desire. Yat tad vapuhu. Such is his vapu, or such is his form. Dadhane. And he eternally maintains that form. In that person named Lord Sri Krishna, Ratir me astu, may my deep attachment be there always. Okay. Then Srila Sridhar Swami says, Katham bhutam vapu. Oh, what is the nature of his form, his eternal form? Then the answer is given. Tamalavan. So he is highlighting the term Tamalavarnam. Tamalavan Nilo Varno Yasyatat. So Srila Sridhar Swami explains this Tamalavarnam as Tamalavan Nilo Varno, that he whose bodily form has a hue as bluish as the tamal tree. Okay, Yasyatat. He has that bodily hue. Okay. Then he is explaining the term Ravi Kara Gaura Varambaram. So we had seen in the translation that the term Ravi Kara Gaura Varambaram means that Lord Sri Krishna is wearing a cloth which has a color which is similar to the color of the rays of the sun. Srila Sridhar Swami also explains this. He says, Pratah Kalina Ravahe Kara Iva. So Srila Sridhar Swami says, Lord Krishna's cloth is such that Pratah Kalina Ravahe Kara. It resembles the color of the rays of the morning sun, pratah kalina, early morning, rave sun, kara eva, and the rays of the sun, eva, similar to that, those rays, swata eva gaure pite. So Lord Krishna's cloth is similar in color to those rays of the early morning sun. Swata eva gaure, naturally the rays are also deep yellowish orange, and Lord Krishna's cloth is also deep yellowish orangish color. Pite, more towards the yellowish side. And then there is also the term vare. So this gaura varambaram, we can see vara means nirmale. This cloth is extremely soft. Cha ambare, yes, means, so the Lord Krishna, he wears this cloth which is extremely soft and which is of the same color as the rays of the early morning sun. So in that Lord Krishna, who wears such a cloth, Bhishma Dev is saying, may my attachment be present eternally. Okay. Then the next term that Srila Sridhar Swami wants to explain is alaka kulavritana nabjam. Srila Sridhar Swami says, alaka kulair upari avritam anana abjam, yes, means that, so Lord Krishna has anana abjam, he has a lotus face which is upari avritam, which is covered slightly on the upper side by alaka kulair, with pendant locks of curly hair. Yes, means that in such a Lord Krishna, Bhishma Dev says, may my attachment, may my loving attachment stay eternally. Okay. Then Srila Sridhar Swami wants to explain the term Vijaya Sakhe. We can see here Vijaya Sakhe. He explains the term as Partha Sarthau, that may my attachment always stay in Vijaya Sakha, which means in Partha Sarthi. Then Anavadya, so he is explaining the term Anavadya. Anavadya means ahaituki. So may my attachment be Anavadya. Anavadya means ahaituki. Ahaituki means causeless. May my attachment in that Lord Krishna be causeless. And he explains ahaituki further as falabhi sandhi rahita, without any desire for any fruitive results. Ratirastu, may my attachment be of such nature in that Lord Shri Krishna. So this is the commentary by Srila Sridhar Swami. Now there is no commentary by Srila Jiva Goswami on this verse. So we'll move ahead to the commentary of Srila Srinath Chakravarti. Now Srila Srinath Chakravarti says, Prakritim upeyushi iti. So he is reminding us of his commentary from the previous verse. In his previous verse commentary, he had interpreted the term Prakriti as Lord Shri Krishna's two-handed form, original two-handed Vrindavan form. So Prakriti Mupeyushi, in the previous verse, it meant Lord Krishna accepts his original two-handed form in Vrindavan. Right. So Prakriti Mupeyushi iti Prakritireva kasam ityaha. So in this verse, Srila Srinath Chakravarti says that in the previous verse, Srila Bhishma Dev had said that he accepts two-handed form in Vrindavan. So Prakritireva kasam. So what are all the various factors of that two-handed form? Ityaha. This is specified here in this verse. So this is a completely different interpretation from the interpretation of Srila Sridhar Swami. So we will see this interpretation. Tribhuvana Kamanam Ityadi. So the verse begins with Tribhuvana Kamanam. Then Srila Srinath Chakravarti says, Tribhuvana Lobhaniyam Trishu eva kaleshu kamanam. So he is explaining the term Tribhuvana Kamanam as Tribhuvana Lobhaniyam, that his two-handed form is desirable or hankered for by Tribhuvana, by the three worlds. Okay, and Trishu eva kaleshu kamanam, and at all times his form is desirable. Okay, then Tamal Varnam. So he is explaining the term Tamal Varnam as Shyama Sundaram, as Shyam Sundar. Ravikara Gaura Ambaram. When he is explaining the term Ravikara Gaura Varambaram, he explains it as Ravikara Gaura Ambaram Chandomayam Ambaram Yasyatat. So he says Lord Krishna's garment is Chandomayam Ambaram, that it is invested with the potency of all Vedic hymns. Yeah, he has such a divine cloth that his cloth itself is totally spiritualized in nature, because it is invested with all the Vedic hymns in it. This is a completely different interpretation from that of Srila Sridhar Swami. Then he is explaining the term Alakakulavritananabjam. He says Alakakulavritananabjam Vapuhu. So he says his face, lotus face, is covered on the top with pendant locks of hair. Vapuhu Prakriti. This is his original bodily form. Atas tasmin vapushi. He says, therefore, in such an original body form, my attachment should be there. May my attachment always be present. Okay. Then he is explaining the term Vijay Sakhe. Now Srila Sridhar Swami had explained Vijay Sakhe as Partha Sarathav, or the charioteer of Arjun. But here Srila Srinath Chakravarti takes a completely different explanation. Vijay Sakhe, Vijayah Sarvotkarsha. So he says Vijay, the term Vijay means reigning above everybody else, ruling above everybody else. Tasya Sakhat. And Lord Krishna is the eternal friend of that quality of ruling over everybody else. So therefore Lord Krishna is the eternal associate or eternal friend of that quality of ruling over everybody else. Therefore he is known as Vijaya Sakha. Tasmin iti adhyaharyam. And this is to be understood. Okay, Dadhane. Now Srila Sridhar Swami had interpreted Dadhane as he who wears that yellowish colored cloth. But Srila Srinath Chakravarti says Dadhane means he holds or he carries. What does he carry? Bhaktanam Hridayam. He always carries the heart of his devotees with him. Okay. Ratim va Dadhane. Or he always carries deep loving attachment with him. Athava, or Gauravarambaram Dadhane. Or you can take the standard interpretation as Srila Sridhar Swami, that he wears. Now Dadhane here means wears. He wears Gauravarambaram, this yellowish colored cloth. Okay. Then he says Anavadya. Is trying to explain the term Anavadya. Now Srila Sridhar Swami had explained it as Palabhisandhi Rahita, which means free of all fruitive desires. And Srila Srinath Chakravarti also takes a similar meaning, Nishkama, which means free of desires, free of material desires. So Srila Bhishma Devi is saying, may my mind, free of all desires, develop deep loving attachment towards Krishna. Why is he praying like that? Srila Srinath Chakravarti Thakur explains, Mati upakalpanasya phalabhuta hi ratihi. So if one has this pure intelligence, this pure mind, and such a mind will lead to ratihi. Such a mind will lead to deep loving attachment towards Lord Shri Krishna. In Sanskrit literature, there is one popularly quoted phrase, Ante mati sagati. So whatever one's thought process is at the time of their death, that will be their attainment. So Srinath Chakravarti Thakur is saying the same thing. Mati upakalpanasya phalabhuta hi rati. So since Bhishma Dev's mati or his mind is anavadya or free of material desires, phalabhuta hi rati. What he will achieve is definitely rati or attachment towards the Lord. Then he says yadva, or he says evam bhutam vapur dadhane. So this is the fourth interpretation of dadhane. The first interpretation was bhaktanam hridayam dadhane. He always carries with himself the heart of his devotees. Second was ratim dadhane. He always carries deep attachment with him. Third was gauravarambaram dadhane, that he always wears this yellowish dhoti. And this is the fourth interpretation, yadva, or evam bhutam vapur dadhane. He always carries this eternal form. Of course, he is his eternal form. So that's what he is saying. Evam bhutam vapur dadhane. This sort of form he eternally carries. And then he explains some grammar along with it. Dadhane iti nitya pravritte shanach. This term dadhane is technically formed by using the suffix named shanach. This suffix shanach here has been used in the sense of nitya pravritte, of eternally bearing something. So that's what he is trying to say here. Evam bhutam vapur dadhane. Lord Shri Krishna eternally carries or eternally maintains such a form. In that Lord Krishna, who eternally maintains such a form, may my loving attachment be present. Then Srila Srinath Chakravarti Thakur says, Evam bhutasya vapushah nityatvam eva prakriti. So Lord Krishna's prakriti, or Lord Krishna's very nature, is that evam bhutasya vapushah nityatvam. So he carries this sort of eternal form with himself wherever he goes, at all times, in all places and circumstances. He has this eternal two-handed form. Right. Then Srila Srinath Chakravarti ends the commentary of this verse by composing some verses, and these verses are about the term rati. We can see the term rati above here. Yes. So he is explaining what is the meaning of rati, or deep attachment towards Krishna. He says, Manonukuleshvartheshu sukha samvedanam rati pumsah striyam striya pumsi bhogyattvena mitho hiyat स्थायी स्यादग्रिमरसे सान्यत्र प्रीतिरुच्यते सैव देवादि विषया भाव इत्यभिधीयते श्रीकृष्ण विषया सा तु रतिरित्येव कथ्यते. He says, what is rati? Mano anukuleshu artheshu sukha samvedanam rati. Rati is sukha samvedanam, is to give pleasure. Okay? To whom? To your beloved. Okay, what type of pleasure? Mano anukuleshu artheshu. Pleasure in regards to those things which the beloved likes. So whatever the beloved likes in those particular fields, in that particular domain, if we give them pleasure, then that is known as rati. Okay. Pumsa striyam striyah pumsi bhogyatveena mithohyat. And in this material world, this type of behavior, this type of rati or giving pleasure to each other can be seen in pumsa striyam striyah pumsi, between men and women. They try to give pleasure to each other. Bhogyatveena mithohyat. But they do that because they consider each other to be the objects of their enjoyment. Bhogyatveena. Okay. But sthai syad agrimarase. This feeling of giving happiness to the beloved, it turns into a sthai bhav, a permanent mellow, where agrimarase. So here Srila Srinath Chakravarti Thakur is speaking about the rasa theory of Bharat Muni. It's slightly technical, that Bharat Muni, in his literature named Natya Shastra, he had propagated 8 rasas in this world. So the highest being Shringar Ras. Shringar Ras means the mellow of romantic love. So in that mellow of romantic love, in that rasa of romantic love, sthai syad, this feeling becomes permanent, of giving pleasure to each other. Sa anyatra pritiruchyate. And in other rasas, it is not a sthai bhav. It is known as priti. It is known by a standard name priti. Saiva devadi vishaya. Now, if somebody invests this feeling of giving constant pleasure in devadi vishaya, in some higher deity belonging to this world, then bhava ityavidhiyate, it is known as bhava. And Shri Krishna vishaya satu, and if one invests this feeling of giving constant pleasure in Lord Shri Krishna, satu ratirityeva kathyate, then it becomes known by its name, original name, that is rati. So basically rati means anukulyena krishnanushilanam, which means to always give pleasure to Lord Shri Krishna, specifically in those particular domains which Lord Shri Krishna personally likes. So this is the commentary by Srila Srinath Chakravarti. Now, before we end, we'll see what is Bhishma Dev's meditation. So if Bhishma Dev's meditation is to be summarized in one sentence, so it can be summarized as follows. Between the all-pervasive, all-powerful Vishnu and the limited Krishna, I choose Krishna, the friend of Arjuna, as my object of love and affection. So in the previous verse, that is the first verse of the Bhishma Stuti, so here Bhishma Dev had said Bhagavati Satvata Pungave. So he is simultaneously Bhagavan, all pervasive, and simultaneously he is limited in form as Krishna. But in this verse, in the current verse, he is not describing anything about the all pervasive Bhagavan feature. In this verse, he has started focusing exclusively upon the limited Lord Shri Krishna. Therefore, we can conclude that Śrī Bhīṣma favors this limited form of Lord Krishna over that all pervasive, all powerful form of Lord Vishnu. So therefore, Bhishma Dev's meditation is that between all pervasive, all powerful Vishnu and the limited Krishna, I choose Krishna, the friend of Arjuna, as my object of love and affection. So thank you, dear devotees, for patiently watching this video. If there are any errors or defects in this video, I would request all of you to kindly excuse me. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.